Welcome to the slow world, where the world quiets down and nature tells its story. Settle in and allow the weight of the day to drift away. There is nothing you need to remember. Simply listen as we follow a day in the life of a white-tailed deer. The forest wakes, not all at once, but in hushed and gentle whispers. It begins not with light, but with the idea of light, a subtle shift in the deep velvet of the night, from ink black to a soft, forgiving charcoal grey. This is the hour before the dawn, a time of profound stillness, a pause between the worlds of moon and sun. Mist, born from the cool, damp earth, weaves between the ancient trees. It is not a fog that obscures, but a veil that softens. It rises like the forest's own slow breath, clinging to the dark, rough bark of the oaks, beading like tiny pearls on the delicate threads of a spider's web. It catches in the feathery fronds of the ferns, making them heavy and bowed. Above, the sky is a canvas of pale, washed-out blue, just now beginning to bloom at its eastern edge with the faint, impossible blush of dawn. A single, high-altitude cloud catches this first hint of colour, turning a soft, fleeting rose pink. In the deep underbrush, hidden far from any trail, beneath a protective veil of wild brambles, and the tall, arching blades of last year's grass, a white-tailed deer lies curled in a quiet nest. She has chosen her place well. Her bed is not built, but made through presence, a simple depression in the earth, packed down by the gentle weight of her body, and insulated by a thick, dry carpet of fallen oak leaves. This bedding spot is familiar, a sanctuary she has used many times before. It is tucked safely beneath the sheltering, low hanging arms of an old oak, a giant whose branches seem to reach down and hold the space in a quiet embrace. Here, the shadows are the deepest. The leaf litter is the dreariest, and the dense thicket protects her from view. Her russet coat, still bearing the faint, ghostly remnants of the white spots of her youth, blends perfectly with the dappled patterns of the forest floor. To any passing eye, she would be just another part of the landscape, a detail lost in the complex tapestry of the woods. The air is cool, heavy and damp with dew. It is filled with the muted, layered sounds of waking life, a symphony of subtlety. The first, tentative trill of a distant songbird, a single, clear note that hangs in the air before being answered by another. The barely their rustle of leaves, stirred by a soft morning breeze, a sound like a gentle sigh. The faint, skittering footsteps of a field mouse in the leaf litter, a tiny life beginning its day nearby. The distant, hollow drumming of a woodpecker, already at its work. She stirs, not with a start, but with a slow, unfurling grace that is born of caution and instinct. Her ears flick first. They are perfect, sensitive funnels, lined with soft fur, and they swivel independently of one another. One scans the hush to the left, the other to the right, sifting through the silence, cataloging the familiar sounds, listening for any note in the chorus that is out of place. They are her guardians, her first line of defense, in a world of whispers and shadows. Then her eyes, deep and dark and glassy, open slowly. They do not blink away sleep, but seem to absorb the new, dim light, reflecting the grey, ethereal world of the pre-dawn forest. There is no alarm in them, only a calm, deep awareness. Her breath is slow and steady, a faint puff of white mist in the cool air, a visible sign of the life warm within her. She remains motionless for a full minute, simply listening, feeling the world wake around her. She can feel the subtle shift in temperature as the dawn approaches. She can smell the change in the air. She rises. It is a process of deliberate and silent movements. First onto her front legs, a gentle push that lifts her shoulders and head. Then, unfolding her powerful hindquarters with an effortless care, she straightens into her full height. Her slender legs, built for silence and for speed, stretch and shift, sending a warmth through her rested muscles, shaking off the last remnants of sleep's stillness. She stands still for another long, quiet moment, a living statue in the dim light. Her head is raised, her elegant neck a perfect curve, her nose twitching as it tests the air. Scent is her first language, her truest language. It is a world of information that she reads with every breath. The forest speaks to her in invisible trails, a complex library of smells that tell the story of the night and the promise of the morning. The sharp, clean, resinous scent of pine needles, warmed ever so slightly by the coming day. The rich, dark, loamy smell of damp bark and decaying leaves, the smell of the forest floor itself. The sweet, green perfume of new grasses and crushed clover. The faint, musky trail of a raccoon who passed hours ago on its way to the creek. The lingering, sharp scent of a red fox, now long gone, who trotted along the ridge. She reads these scents not as individual notes, but as a complete picture. There is nothing new, nothing alarming. The story of the night was a peaceful one. The patterns are correct. She is safe. She begins her morning ritual, a careful grooming, a quiet act of cleansing and preparation for the day. Her long, rough tongue moves in slow, deliberate motions, smoothing the fur along her flank where a leaf had clung to her. She attends to a spot on her shoulder, then licks a foreleg from knee to hoof until it is clean and dark with moisture. A flick of the ear at a new sound. The clear, three-note call of a chickadee from a nearby branch. It is a familiar, reassuring voice, a twitch of the tail, a simple, reflexive motion. She listens, not just for individual sounds, but for the texture of the silence that holds them. She listens for change. The sudden, abrupt absence of birdsong, which could signal a predator's approach. The distant, sharp crack of a dry twig that does not belong in the morning's gentle, rustling rhythm. For now, all is still, all patterns are familiar, all is safe. She takes a final, deep breath of the cool morning air, filling her lungs with the scent of her world. And with a grace that seems to make no sound at all, she begins to move. She steps carefully, her weight balanced, her hooves finding the softest places, to land. Through the tangled brambles and past the slender trunks of young saplings, she moves like a shadow toward the clearing she knows so well. The light has changed again, more quickly now. The grey has given way to a soft, liquid gold light that slants through the trees. It dapples the forest floor in broken, shifting patches, a mosaic of gold on green, shadow on moss. The clearing is quiet, an open secret in the heart of the woods. It is kissed by the new sun, but the ground is still damp and cool beneath the tall ferns. Dewdrops, perfect and clear, cling like a million tiny jewels to the edges of every leaf, to every blade of grass, to the silken threads of a web strung between two stalks of goldenrod. Her dark, slender hooves, polished by the dew, make barely a sound on the mossy earth. She is a whisper in the landscape, a passing thought. She lowers her head and begins to nibble. Her meal is a quiet study in the textures and tastes of the forest. First, the young shoots of grass, tender, green, bursting with the sweetness of new life. Her soft lips and sharp lower teeth work together with precision. Then she moves to the broad, soft leaves of wild violets, their flavour mild and pleasant. She finds a patch of white clover, and her lips pluck the tripartite leaves with practiced ease. She pulls a single, succulent leaf from a low, hanging branch of a maple sapling, chews it slowly, thoughtfully, its sugar's a welcome treat. She moves from plant to plant, not grazing heavily in one spot, but taking a little here, a little there. This is her way, a gentle touch upon the land. Her ears never stop listening. They are always in motion, swiveling, sampling the air for sound. Her nose keeps testing the wind, reading its subtle messages, deciphering the story of what lies upwind. Even while she eats, a part of her mind remains separate, watchful. An ancient vigilance, a deep instinct woven into her very being. This constant, gentle alertness is as natural to her as breathing. It is not born of fear, but of awareness. The morning is peaceful, but never truly silent. The forest is humming with the gentle, industrious life of its smaller inhabitants. A red squirrel, perched on a high branch of a hickory tree, announces her presence with a sharp, scolding rhythm. The deer flicks an ear in its direction, but does not lift her head. It is a familiar sound, the squirrel's constant, noisy commentary on the world. A robin, its chest a flash of brilliant orange, dips into a shallow puddle left by last night's rain for a quick, splashing bath, sending droplets flying in the sunlight. A fat bumblebee drones lazily past her ear on its way to the first open wildflowers. The deer moves slowly, grazing, weaving a meandering, unhurried path through the sun-dappled clearing. The warmth of the rising sun begins to touch her back, a pleasant, gentle heat that penetrates her coat and warms her skin. It dries the last of the dew from her fur. She is never in a hurry. There is no clock here but the sun, no schedule but the quiet, internal calling of her own body. Time passes without rush in this place. It flows like the mist, like the slow growing moss on the trees, measured in the unfurling of a leaf or the slow drift of a cloud. She grazes until her belly feels full. A quiet, satisfying wait that signals a successful morning. Then she lifts her head, a single clover leaf still clinging to her lips. She licks her mouth clean, her dark eyes blinking slowly in the growing warmth. She looks with a deep, knowing gaze toward the deeper part of the woods, where the shadows are still long and cool, and the great trees promise shelter from the coming heat. It is time to rest. The sun climbs high overhead, a brilliant white disk in the deep, seamless blue of the late morning sky. The shadows, once long and stretching, now shrink, pulling in close to the trunks of the trees. The energetic chorus of birdsong quiets to just a few intermittent calls. The air grows heavy and warm. The forest grows still, holding its breath beneath the gentle, pressing heat of the day. The white-tailed deer returns to her sanctuary, the shaded, peaceful space beneath the towering, broad-leafed oaks. Here, the air is noticeably cooler, the light is soft and dappled, painting shifting. Lazy patterns of green and gold on the ground. The hum of insects seems to form a gentle, vibrating curtain of sound. There, where the earth is cool and soft with the many layers of fallen leaves from autumn's past, she circles once, then a second time, nudging the ground with her nose, arranging her bed just so. She folds her slender legs beneath her, first the front, then the back, and lowers herself gently, deliberately into a resting position. She settles with a soft, quiet sigh, a sound of release and contentment. Now, a different kind of eating begins. A more peaceful, internal process. She begins to chew her cud. A small, grassy portion of the morning's forage, brought back up from the first of her 4 stomach chambers. Slow, methodical, rhythmic motions of the jaw, side to side, side to side, her cheek bulging with the effort. This is the quiet miracle of her digestion, allowing her to extract every last bit of nourishment from the tough, fibrous plants she has eaten. It is a quiet, meditative act, a central part of the day's slow, unfolding rhythm, her large, dark eyes close from time to time. Not in deep, unconscious sleep, but in a state that lies somewhere between waking and dreaming. A light, drifting awareness, a pause in the day, a quiet, still center. Her mind is not blank, but simply calm, processing the sensory information of her world in a passive, gentle way. Her ears, however, never rest. They continue their quiet, constant dance, twisting and turning toward every new sound, no matter how small or distant. A dry twig snapping under the weight of a wandering chipmunk. A blue jay calling harshly from a treetop far away. A bird flapping its wings as it lands on a branch directly above her. A fly buzzing insistently, too close to her sensitive ear. She flicks her tail occasionally, a lazy, automatic motion to brush it away. She shifts her weight slightly, from one hip to the other, finding a more comfortable position on the soft earth. But for the most part, she remains perfectly still, a living portrait of peaceful repose, her form almost melting into the shadows. The world slows to her pace. The forest seems to dream around her. Even the wind, which rustled the leaves in the morning, now seems to hold its breath in the midday heat, leaving the leaves to hang still and heavy on their branches. Time passes gently here, marked only by the slow, imperceptible drift of the sun across the sky, and the corresponding shifting of the dappled patterns of light on the leaves around her. A patch of sun that was on her shoulder slowly moves to her back, then to the ground beside her. And in this quiet, peaceful stillness, the deer waits for the heat to pass, conserving her energy, utterly at home in the silent, green heart of the woods. As the shadows begin to stretch again, long and cool and dark, across the forest floor, a new energy stirs in the air. The oppressive heat of midday begins to lift. The deer rises once more. The motion is as graceful as it was in the morning. She stretches her rested legs. A long, luxurious arch of her back that realigns her spine and awakens her muscles. She takes a moment to scent the air, reading the afternoon chapter of the wind's story. The air is different now, drier, warmer than the morning, but cooler than midday. It smells of sun-baked earth, warm pine needles, and the faint, sweet perfume of drying wildflowers. She begins to walk, following a winding path she knows by heart. It is a faint trail, a deer path, visible only to those who know where to look. It is a narrow, silent corridor that weaves between fallen logs covered in bright green moss and through tall, dense stands of fern. Birdsong returns, brighter and more varied now, a joyful chorus in the cooling air. Insects hum in the golden shafts of late afternoon sunlight that pierce the canopy. She moves with a gentle, renewed purpose now, toward water. Thirst, a quiet and persistent call from within, pulls her forward. A stream runs gently through the eastern edge of the woods, a ribbon of silver and blue. Its voice, a constant, soft, burbling music. It tumbles over smooth, mossy stones that have been worn down by centuries of this same patient flow. She approaches cautiously, her soft, delicate footsteps pausing at the very edge of the grassy bank. She stands motionless for a full minute, a silent, graceful statue. Scanning the opposite side of the stream, her ears tuned to the sound of the water, listening for any sound that is not a part of its song. All is quiet. She lowers her elegant head and drinks. The cool, clear water laps at her muzzle, a blessed relief. She takes slow, deliberate sips, her reflection a perfect, distorted image in the moving water below her. Nearby, a woodpecker, oblivious to her presence, taps a steady, hollow rhythm against the peeling bark of a birch tree. A small, green frog, sunning itself on a lily pad, is startled by her movement and leaps into the stream with a quiet, comical splash. She lifts her head, her attention momentarily caught by the sound. Water drips from her chin, each drop catching the afternoon light like a falling diamond. Her thirst is quenched. All is calm. She steps into a soft, muddy patch of earth at the stream's edge, a place where the ground is always damp. She rubs her cheek and then her forehead against the rough, lichen, covered bark of a young alder tree, leaving behind her own unique scent from the glands near her eyes. It is an ancient ritual, a silent, invisible message left for others of her kind to read. It is not a challenge, but a statement of presence, a quiet marking of her territory. I am here. This is my place. She moves on, her journey now one of casual, unhurried exploration. She wanders without a specific goal, simply being present in her world, observing its small dramas. Every so often, She pauses to nibble a particularly succulent leaf from a bush, or to sniff the trail of another deer who passed this way hours earlier, reading the story of their passage. She sees a monarch butterfly. Its wings, a brilliant flash of orange and black, land on a purple thistle flower. She watches it for a moment, its delicate legs gripping the flower, its proboscis uncurling to drink. Then she continues on her way. She moves like a shadow, like a breeze through the tall grass, a fleeting, graceful presence, seen one moment and then unseen the next. She does not hurry. There is no reason to run. Not yet. The sun dips lower now, a great, fiery orange ball hanging just above the western ridgeline. The golden hour begins. A soft, warm, honey-coloured light floods the forest, making everything it touches seem to glow from within. The leaves on the trees become translucent. The moss on the rocks becomes a vibrant, impossible green. She arrives at another feeding spot, a place she favours in the rich evening light. It is a small, grassy glade where wild berry bushes grow in a thick, tangled line along the edge of the woods. Here she finds sweet things, a dessert after a day of foraging on leaves and grasses. She browses along the bush line, her soft lips plucking the dark, ripe fruit with a delicate touch. Wild blueberries, small and intensely sweet, burst in her mouth. She seeks out the tender, new leaves of a raspberry bush, avoiding the thorns with practiced skill. She nibbles the soft, new growth of shrubs, their flavour rich in the cooling air. A soft rustle in the bushes nearby. She freezes instantly, her head snapping up, her ears swivelling forward, her body tense and ready. Another deer emerges, a doe slightly smaller than herself, and behind her, two small, spotted fawns, their coats still bearing the bright, star-like pattern of their infancy. They move with the clumsy, charming, unpredictable energy of youth, sometimes bounding forward, sometimes stopping to stare at a fluttering leaf. The white-tailed deer lifts her head and watches them. The two does acknowledge one another without a sound. There is no challenge, no fear in the interaction. Just a look, a moment of shared space, a quiet, mutual understanding between two mothers in their shared home. The fawns, emboldened by their mother's calm, bounce and nibble at leaves, mimicking her, learning what is safe to eat. The deer watches them for a long moment, then, satisfied, returns to her own meal. In the distance, through the trees, a young buck, his antlers still covered in soft velvet, scrapes them against the smooth bark of a young sapling. The sound is a rough, satisfying scratching that echoes faintly through the glade. He is strengthening his neck for the rituals of autumn, leaving his own powerful, youthful mark on the bark. It's a quiet social hour in the forest. Nothing is forced. Nothing is spoken. It is just the peaceful, concurrent presence of others, each living out their own gentle day. The deer feeds slowly, savouring the evening flavours as the light begins to change. Then she stands still, simply listening as the evening deepens around her. The first crickets begin their high, chirping song, a sound that defines the summer night. A cool breeze moves through the trees, making the leaves whisper and dance. The golden light fades to rose, then to a deep violet. The shadows, once distinct, now bleed into one another, softening all edges. The forest becomes a world of blue and grey. Shapes soften. Edges blur. The vibrant colours of the day have drained away, replaced by the monochrome palette of twilight. The deer moves with a quiet, reverent care. The time for wandering is over. It is time to return home. To the safety of her familiar bed, she heads back toward her resting place, retracing the soft, familiar trail she has made over countless days and countless nights. On her way, she pauses one last time to nibble a few final mouthfuls of tall grass, still warm from the day's sun. She drinks once more from a shallow, still pool of water, her reflection a dark, indistinct shape in the gathering twilight. Then, with a final, watchful look around her darkening world, she steps beneath the wide, protective canopy of the deep woods. Here, the last of the light is gone. The darkness is complete. The sky above, seen through the gaps in the leaves, is now a deep, stardusted indigo. The sounds have changed completely. The daytime birds are silent. Now, the nocturnal voices emerge. An owl calls to its mate across the dark valley, its voice a soft, resonant hooting that seems to make the very air vibrate. A gentle breeze whispers through the high pine branches, a sound like a distant, restful sigh. She reaches her resting place. The familiar scent of her own body, of dry leaves and warm earth, welcomes her. She settles. A slow circle, a gentle nudge of the ground with her nose. Back into the soft depression. Back into the gentle, secure hold of the forest. She tucks her slender legs beneath her, first the front, then the back. Her breathing slows, deepens. The world becomes quiet again, wrapped in the deep, velvet blanket of the night. She sleeps, but not deeply. Not in the way that we do. Our sleep is a surrender, a letting go. Hers is a fragile, watchful thing. Her body rests, conserving its precious energy for the day to come. Her heart beats slowly, a steady, quiet drum in the deep silence. But her senses, particularly her ears, remain alert, her guardians through the dark hours. They twitch and turn even as she rests, constantly monitoring the symphony of the night, sifting for any sound that is out of place. She dreams in flashes, in feelings. Not in stories, but in sensory memories, of open, sunlit meadows filled with wildflowers, of running through moonlit fields, her legs effortless and strong, the cool night air rushing past her, of the sweet taste of clover and the crisp bite of a winter apple, of the warm, comforting sunlight on her back on a cool autumn day. But she wakes at the slightest sound that is unfamiliar. The forest never sleeps fully. It is always alive with rustles, with movement, with the quiet dramas of the night, and neither does she. Time passes slowly in the deep night. The moon, a bright silver crescent, rises above the trees, casting a pale, magical light through the canopy. It paints the forest floor in shifting, ghostly patterns of shadow and light. The stars drift across the sky, a silent, celestial clock. Far away, a coyote howls, a lonely, quavering song that rises and falls on the still air. Her head lifts instantly from her rest. Her eyes are wide in the darkness, her muscles tense and ready. She listens, her entire being focused on that distant sound. She waits. The sound fades and is not answered by another coyote nearby. The danger is far away. On another ridge, she lays her head down again, the tension slowly leaving her body, muscle by muscle. She is not afraid. She is only aware. It is her nature to live in this perfect balance of rest and readiness. Always listening, always waiting, a silent, graceful creature, at peace in her wild home. Eventually, her dark, heavy-lidded eyes close again. The air is cool and still. The campfire, your campfire, crackles softly in the distance, a sound of warmth and safety. The great forest sighs around her, a deep, ancient breath. She rests, and the world holds her gently in its hand. Thank you for wandering with us in the slow world. May your rest be as calm as the forest, and may sleep find you gently.